And aloha! Welcome to the second intermission show. Hey, Hockey, how we doing, man?
All right, man. The Blues got a goal, so.
Goal back, right?
What's that?
I said at least we got a goal back.
Yeah, and Krug got in a fight, so good for him. I mean, I understand he was trying to jumpstart the team, but it looked like it worked.
Yeah, hey, sorry about that first intermission. I know you were lagging or whatever, but let me bring back Mr. Terry Yake to the show. Terry, welcome back, man. Hey, that was a better period, wasn't it?
That was much better. That was more Blues hockey. That was the kind of period they needed to play. Unfortunately, a couple of opportunities that they missed. The breakaway by Hoffman would have been huge. A couple other seeing eye shots. If they find one more to the back of the net, they're right back in this game. But they did battle and claw their way back. They need to get one and give themselves a chance in the last, say, 5 to 10 minutes to tie this game.
Oh, yeah. Get one to get two, right?
Absolutely. One at a time. That's how you always speak. You can never look too far ahead. You don't go out thinking you're going to get two. You just got to get one and keep clawing your way back. Oh,
I agree. So, Hockey, Ryan, I know you had a couple of questions. Remember, we only got 20 minutes, and I know he's got one other question to answer from a fan that asked earlier. So go ahead and ask one of your questions there, bud.
All right, so one of my first questions is, what is the most hated player that you ever played against?
Oh, that's a dangerous one.
You, buddy.
I think we made them all friends after we retired. Once you become an alumni, you're all on the same team. So I better be careful. Let's see. The only guy still playing in the National Hockey League that I played against, I think, is Zdeno Chara, and he's one of the nicest men you'll ever meet. So I'm definitely not going to say him. But no, there was always a few, and because of the rivalry with Detroit, there was a few guys that I found out later weren't bad guys, but Draper and Maltby and those guys that, maybe my group would end up playing against that were just a pain in the butt. And unfortunately, they had some success, and we missed out there for a few years. Them taking us out in the playoffs in 80 or 99 was a real tough gut punch. And those guys were maybe not the best players, but they were keys to their team as well, as much as anybody.
Yeah, so I guess I'm going to throw this one in there, and I'm not speaking bad of the dead, but you know how Mr. Probert was. Was he a tough guy to play against?
I tried to stay away from him, so I'm not sure. You ask Kelly Chase and Tony Twist, the guys that had to fight them, and they'll tell you he was one of the baddest guys out there. But believe me, I was trying to stay away from him as much as possible. So yeah, he looked scary. I'm sure he was very scary, but when you're on the other side of the ice, you don't notice so much.
Yeah, I get it. I've got some stories. I don't want to take up too many times. I've talked to Tom Calhoun, and he tells a story about the melee between the Blues and Detroit when Probert tried to go over into the stands. He talks about that. That was a good one. You got to watch my first interview with Mr. Calhoun to see that one. So one of my guys, he's not on here, at least I don't see him, but he asked a question about what rule changes would you like to see to make the game better for younger fans coming in, especially now that ESPN has it?
Well, I mean, there's one that I think it definitely would need a little bit of experimentation. And generally the National Hockey League does some experimentation with the American Hockey League before they implement a rule change or some sort of drastic change. But I got an idea for overtimes. I mean, overtime is by far some of the most fun. I would not want to see 60 minutes of it, but overtime has been a lot of fun and switch to 3-on-3. But if you notice, to me, has it been since 04, 05 or since 2012? I believe the 3-on-3 is starting to run its course already because teams and coaches start to figure out how to play it. And listen, to me, hockey is the most exciting game in the world, and I didn't turn the game on and watch an exciting 3-on-3 to see soccer. And this 1 or 2 minutes of guys turning back into their own zone all the time gets very, very tiresome. It slows down the game. I would like to see them, one, not change ends in overtime. That way you can make those quick changes. The idea of having the long change was to get somebody caught out there. But what happens now is guys go out there and they're out there for a minute and a half. One group looks tired. The other group's trying to get a change, but they always take it back to their own zone, all the way back to the blue line or the red line to regroup. So don't change the ends so that you have the short change so they can keep guys fresh. And once you cross the blue line, you can't leave the zone until you take a shot. So something like basketball. And then maybe if that doesn't work, even implement a shot clock, like a 20 or 30-second shot clock once you take possession. Now, if you want to see overtime be fun, listen, we're already deciding a game in 3-on-3, which isn't hockey. And, a shootout, if that doesn't work in 5 minutes, what's to say you can't cross the blue line again with the puck or you lose possession? Or let's put a shot clock on to make overtime really fun. You want to see things happen? That would make things happen quickly.
Go
ahead, Ryan. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I really like that shot clock idea because you see a lot of the times these guys get into the zone and then they pass the puck around so many times and then they either one, end up losing it, or two, don't get the shot off. But with respect to what Terry said about the overtimes, I've got one other suggestion, and I think I really like this idea. You put your tough guy from one team and your tough guy from the other team, put them at center ice, let them fight. Whoever wins, that determines the overtime winner.
That was a wonderful, wonderful entertainment piece in the 90s.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I'd like to see him go back to the 4-on-4, but extend it to 10 minutes. Right? Yeah, and the reason I say that is because with an extended period, now you're not just seeing one or two lines, you're seeing more guys out there, and you're going to get more chances of having a mismatch, a line matchup. Or not only that, I love the shot clock, but make it a zone clock. So you've got to go through the zones in a certain amount of time, or better yet, in overtime, take out the blue lines.
Yeah, well, they do it in basketball, so there's no question they could find a way to do it in hockey. It would take a little bit of experimentation, but I think it would keep the pace of the game up. So every 20 to 30 seconds, there's going to be a shot attempt. 30 seconds might be a fair number. And once you enter the zone, like center court in basketball, you can't return back outside that, or you have to give the puck up. And the referee, literally says, give it up, or, we're giving you, where the face-off goes all the way down to your zone if you don't literally turn the puck over once he yells, give it up, your shot clock's over. So, it's a little bit quirky. I get it. But this overtime, there's some games that have been wildly entertaining, and others tend to be a little bit slow. If you watch the All-Star game, they're a little bit slow because teams just play that possession game, and sometimes it's a minute and a half, and you're just trying to get one guy tired. I understand that's the concept because that's what works. One guy caught out there, two guys caught out there, and then somebody fresh gets a step on him, and he gets that breakaway or that 2-on-1 that they've been looking for. But it's definitely slowing down 3-on-3 from what we initially saw in the first couple of years.
Yeah, so here's another really good question from John Hefner. What's the difference between a hard shot and a heavy shot?
So a heavy shot to me would be, obviously there's not a lot of difference to it scientifically. If a guy shoots at 100 miles an hour, he shoots at 100 miles an hour. Science is going to tell you it's the same. But a heavy shot's a guy who really can kind of lean into it, and it feels like the puck's going to go through everything. And, a hard shot would be more, I would liken Brett Hull to be more of the hard shot. Nathan McKinnon, Alex Ovechkin, because those guys, Ovechkin has both a hard and a heavy shot because it's going to hurt you if it hits you. But it's the guy that can get it off really quick, and it just seems to jump off his stick. And, when he takes that one-timer, you can see the stick flex, you can see it bend, and it just jumps off the stick and ends up in the top corner, and you go, wow, that was not only hard, but it was quick. And the heavy one is the Al McInnes, who winds up, takes the shot. Nobody on the planet wants to get in front of it. And, Shea Weber might be a guy right now that would have the heavy shot. And I would say, Alex Ovechkin's a little bit of both. And guys like David Perron's got the hard shot. It's a quick, hard release that flies through the air and seems to hit its target real easily.
Right. Yeah. I agree with you. On that. Go ahead, Ryan.
So I do have one question before we do run out of time. Out of all of your experiences bouncing back and forth and stuff within the leagues, what is one regret that you have?
Well, it's hard to have a regret after having a 22-year career, but I think I made a few mistakes, and they weren't mistakes at the time with regards to agents. I trusted agents far too much to get the job done and get a contract done, and I think it cost me a few 3 or 4 years in the National Hockey League. When I left Anaheim here as the leading scorer, and my agent couldn't get a contract with the Ducks, despite the fact that they told him and myself that they wanted me back, and I ended up in Toronto, and then the International League, and another year in the International League, and then a year in the American Hockey League before I finally worked my way back into the NHL with St. Louis for 3 seasons. That was a big blow because those were the prime years of my career. It was the years between ages of 25, 26, 27, 28. And those are years that were completely wasted. And it was really just because I trusted the guy who claimed that he could get the job done. I should have probably taken more control over my career, my status, my situation with the general manager. If it wasn't going well, I should have put a halt to everything and got somebody in there that could have done the job. But, we're 23 years old. We really don't know what's going on behind closed doors. And it's really difficult to make those decisions at that time. And you do put your trust in people that sometimes just aren't properly prepared or don't always have your best interest at heart.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, you played during that period of ballooned contracts, right? There were guys that were scoring 10 points, making $4 million, $5 million a year. You had the Brett Hulls who were making 8, 7, 8, 9, and it just exploded what happened in that period and what eventually forced the salary cap. But I understand what you're getting at. There was a lot of agents back then that didn't really have the best guy's interest in their guy's best interest.
Yeah, because they might have another client who's a bigger client that they're doing a favor. So get this guy done, and I'll make sure we get the other player done in exchange for that. So yeah. I don't know exactly. I'm not going to name any names, but we're kind of certain that happened. But I did come through the NHL in a really unique era. When I broke in, I think Wayne Gretzky was still only making $400,000 as the greatest player to ever play. Ron Francis, John Cullen was making, I believe, $150,000, and he had just had a 110-point season. He was the first $1 million player for the Hartford Whalers while I was there in 92, 93 era. And then you flash forward to like 5 or 6 years later, you have Chris Pronger making $10 million with the Blues, Al McInnes making close to that. I mean, players' salaries had skyrocketed. Not everybody had caught up. Certainly the superstars had got their salaries to increase. The other players, the lower players on the totem pole, all the way down to the last player on the roster, they obviously saw theirs go up as well, but maybe not quite at the same rate exponentially. But I saw the greatest players in the game playing for a couple $100,000, who 10 years later playing for $10 million. So it was quite a jump in the 90s, and then in the 2000s after the salary cap came in. Of course, everything kind of got evened out, and the Players Association found a way to make sure that the top players still got paid, but bring the bottom players up as well. And I think everybody's doing fairly well right now, considering the salary that everybody's making.
Right. Yeah, the salary caps work. So here's one. This is a funny one, and we only got a few minutes. Why does Yake skate so slow in NHL 99 and ruin my breakaway every time?
You should see me in NHL 2021. Pull me up on that. It's like molasses out there.
I gotta get that I gotta get that pack, with the old guys. I gotta get that. So I shouldn't say old guys, because I know you're not old, Terry. Terry, I love you, man. So hey, Terry, I know I asked you just for the intermissions, but I've had a lot of requests. If you can come on for the post game for say 15, 20 minutes, are you okay with doing that, bud?
Absolutely, yeah, no problem at all.
I love you, man. I love you. Ryan, I know it was short, and I know you have more questions. I promise you this is not the last time you're going to be on with me. And if you want to do a interview with Terry on the Hockey Hound, we can talk offline. And, if he wants to let me give you his information, I will. I bet Terry would love to. And I'm not diming you out. You don't have to answer this, but I know Terry loves to talk hockey, and Hockey Hound's one of the smart guys I know. Terry. Say again?
I would say we'd definitely love to have an interview with him. I would just say next time, I really enjoyed this interview and stuff. Next time, can we have my favorite goaltender of all time, Curtis Joseph, on?
You know what? I'm killing. I've been trying. Terry might be able to help with that. I think Terry could twist an elbow or two, or get some friends, but we'll talk offline on that. You guys know, everyone knows that I bust my butt to try and get these players. And I work, I work through the Blues alumni. I do what I can, but I love the guys, and I hope the guys love me back because they keep coming back. So I appreciate it. Hey, well, we're just about out of time. So this is Guy, the Wide Blues fan, who can't hit the buttons again, saying aloha, mahalo. Please, guys, stick around so I can talk to you real quick. Thank you so much for watching the second intermission show. I cannot wait to get to talk with Terry and Lance from the Drop on the post-game show. This is going to be a thrill. Please, guys, join me on the post-game. Terry, I am bleeding blue. And even though you're a Blue Jackets fan, Ryan, blue with you, buddy. See you on the post-game. Aloha.